Subaru is certainly no stranger to building some pretty class-topping vehicles, and this week the company has sent me over one of their top-performing vehicles in terms of sales. This is the refreshed 2017 Subaru Forester XT Touring. Let's take a look and see if it's still worth a look in the ever-crowded compact SUV segment. Those of you who can remember the original Forester back in 1997, you'll know that it was essentially just like an Impreza that was slightly raised up. It seriously looked more like a wagon as opposed to an SUV. Now the company changed all that when they introduced the third generation Forester back in 2009, I believe, where it took on that traditional SUV shape. Now a lot of Subaru Forester faithful really did not like that. However, when Subaru did that, their sales for this vehicle really just took off. And as you know, the compact SUV segment is extremely competitive. However, Subaru has really carved itself a nice niche, and there's definitely a lot of reasons why you would choose this. Now, enter the all-new 4th generation Forester when it was introduced back in 2014. It actually won Motor Trend's SUV of the Year, and after 3 years on the market, Subaru is making some nice updates to this vehicle, especially when it comes to the design. You can see the front end bears the new face of the Subaru design language. You have the Hawkeye headlights with LED daytime running lights. There's now full LED headlights available. They're steering responsive. They're automatic high beams. The front end has been slightly tweaked, especially on this turbo model. You can see it has a bulging hood to kind of make room for the intercooler. It's got its own unique, more aggressive front fascia. Now on the sides, the wheels are these unique 18-inch wheels that you get on the limited and up trims. They fill out the wheel wells nicely. They're on 225 series rubber. I also like the black painted accents, and overall, the Forester has more of a traditional SUV shape. It actually has a surprising amount of ground clearance at 8.7 inches. I think it's one of the highest in the compact SUV segment. And at the back, you can see slightly refreshed taillights finish out the rear. And if you guys go for the turbo engine, like my tester, you'll have dual chrome exhaust tips, which definitely gives this vehicle a much sportier look. Now, if you guys are thinking this car looks exactly like a WRX in SUV form, it essentially is. The motor underneath the hood is a 2-liter turbocharged Boxer 4-cylinder that makes 250 horsepower. Which definitely makes this one of the quickest vehicles in the class. But enough about the exterior. Let's take a look at the inside and see some of the changes that Subaru has made this year. Subaru has been a little bit slow to adopt push-button start with intelligent access. Now, my tester is the top-of-the-line Touring model. It actually only comes standard on the Touring. It's not available on other trims from what I saw on their build site. You're just going to get a standard remote keyless entry with the in-fob or in-key remote. So it's a little annoying to see that. Subaru, I believe, is rectifying that on their newest models. But just know that if you want push-button start with intelligent access, you have to get the top trim. To lock the vehicle, just touch your finger on this little ridged portion. That locks the door for you. To unlock it, there's a sensor on the back of the handle. To touch the back of the handle, it unlocks the door for you. Now, looking at the interior of the refreshed Forester, you can see this brown leather option is actually new for 2017. It only comes on the Touring trim, which is definitely nice. I really like the contrasting stitching. It makes for a pretty upscale looking interior, which is not something that Subarus are known for. It looks very nice with this black contrasting interior. Now, stepping inside, you can see it has a really nice step-in height, a really nice, good view of the road. That's one thing that the Forester has always been known for, is excellent visibility. I had a lot of people drive this car who, drive the competitors, and they just noticed how easy it is to see out of this vehicle and how much smaller it feels than some other vehicles. Now, shutting the door, it sounds nice and solid when it shuts, and this is a pretty new design that's only been on the market for 3 years, so I wouldn't really expect anything less. Now, to start the vehicle up, you can see push button start. Just put your foot on the brake and then push the button here to fire up the engine. And you can see the gauges do a nice sweep. They're pretty much the same gauges that I showed you guys on the WRX. And the engine definitely has that Boxer growl. It definitely gives you a vibe that this is no ordinary crossover. It's definitely one of the sportier offerings in the segment. Now, looking at the rest of the interior, you can see the materials are surprisingly solid. It's a very simple design that's easy to use. You can kind of get in this car and know exactly how to use everything. The dashboard has a nice grading material. It's soft touch right here as well. The door panel, surprisingly, is hard touch plastic, but there is a nice grading material. There's more of that brown leather, soft stitching here on the armrest, more stitching here, which is very nice. The windows are one touch automatic for the front. The backs are not one touch, so it's something again that I pretty much expected with this segment. There's some nice faux wood grain accents, it looks like, with some faux aluminum trim. There's some piano black trim splashed throughout. You can see this is the updated head unit of the Subaru Starlink with navigation. It's a 7-inch touchscreen display. It works fairly well. It's not the newest system in the new Impreza. That's a completely new platform. I haven't had a chance to actually try one of those yet. Hopefully, I'm hoping Subaru will send me that soon. When you go to the home screen here, you can see it's got, you know, all your usual sources: map, audio, phone, apps. And the touch response itself is relatively good. It's definitely not the quickest in the industry. When you go to the map display here, it's basically a version of TomTom GPS, which works fairly well. It's easy to use. Definitely not, you know, going to wow you, but the interface is very nice. Those of you who are, you know, used to using an aftermarket nav system are getting this and pretty much know exactly how to use it. One thing it is missing is Android Auto and CarPlay. Again, that is on the newest Subaru Starlink head unit, which I believe is now 8 inches in diameter. This does not have it. When you put it in reverse, Subaru gives you a pretty rudimentary backup camera. It doesn't even have trajectory. It does have distance markers, and it has parking sensors, so I'm surprised to see it doesn't have trajectory. Some competitors have a 360 camera system, so again, that's something to keep in mind. Looking at the rest of the center stack, 3 knobs here for your dual zone automatic climate control, which only comes on the touring trim. Lower trims will either have a manual climate control system or a single zone automatic. So again, Subaru is lacking there in the features. There's a little bit of storage down there where you can see I put some stuff there. The X mode here is basically a Subaru's way of saying if you're stuck in a slippery surface, push this button here and it will, you know, make the transmission and the stability control system be less intrusive so that you can get yourself unstuck. It only works until about 25 miles an hour. You can see there's heated seats here. Some competitors offer heated and cooled seats. This controls the Lineartronic CVT transmission. It's the only transmission available on the turbo. Subaru does offer a 6-speed manual on the base engine on the base trim and premium models. It works like, you know, it's a traditional shifter. It's got a manual mode here, which you access from the paddles on the wheel, which is definitely nice. We'll go into the driving dynamics later on. You have a traditional old school style pull cable actuated handbrake, which is definitely nice for you traditionalists. There's some cup holders here, which are a decent size. The armrest here slides forward, which is nice. You have decent storage down here. You can see I put some stuff down there. This shelf here pretty much takes up all the opening space here, but it's nice to kind of hide your stuff down there. Another thing that Subaru gives you is a panoramic sunroof on most models. It's huge. However, the shade here isn't power, surprisingly, but it's a little bit of a reach, but I can reach it. One thing the sunroof does not do is tilt. It only just opens pretty much. It doesn't actually tilt, which is a little bit disappointing. But again, it's nice that Subaru gives you a pano sunroof, which is not available on the CR-V or the RAV4. My tester on the steering wheel, you can see it's pretty similar to the steering wheel that on like the Legacy, not the WRX though, which has the flat bottom wheel. You can see you have your traditional Subaru buttons here. This is for the eyesight system. This is your drive mode selector. Like the WRX, you can choose. It always defaults to individual mode. You can see here, if you push this button here, it goes to a sport setting. Push the button to the left of that, it goes to a sport sharp setting, which shows you 8 virtual ratios of the CVT. I'll go into the driving dynamics later on. This is one nice driving vehicle. Heated steering wheel is new this year. It comes on the touring trims only. The steering wheel heat only works on the actual bolsters here, not around the entire rim of the steering wheel, kind of like what Moss is doing. But overall, I mean, the interior, while it is relatively simple in its design, it's very nice. I think it'll age well. I think people are going to get in this and know how to use it. Just keep in mind that it is missing a couple of features, like there's no auto-dimming rearview mirror, there's no remote start. I kind of expected that, especially at this price range. Looking at the back seat of the 2017 Forester, you can see it's also a fairly large amount of space. It's pretty class competitive. The floor is not flat, but you can see there's lots of legroom. And stepping back here, it's really easy to step in. The opening here is fairly large. Now shutting the door, it has the same solid feel as the front, and you can see there's plenty of legroom. There's a ton of foot space underneath the front seats. The floor itself is nice and low. There's surprisingly good support here for my thighs, and you could essentially put a third person in the middle here. The floor, while it is not completely flat, it is relatively low. There's no vents back here. Most competitors do give you vents, so I am noticing that. Subaru still does give you an armrest right here with some cup holders, and the seats themselves, they do fold down to 60/40, along with giving you some decent storage. There's a map pocket on both sides, and then there's another bottle holder and door pocket right here on both rear doors. Now, only the higher trims will get the power tailgate, which Subaru doesn't offer the hands-free like kicking tailgate like some competitors. Again, a couple of features are missing. Now, looking at the cargo capacity, it's pretty average with the seats up. You're looking at around 31 cubic feet of space. Now, if you want to fold down those seats, you just have to push this button here, and then actually electrically or hydraulically folds the seat down, which you can see. It gives you a relatively flat floor, but Subaru says it's around 70 cubic feet of space, which is definitely on the top end of the class. So in terms of practicality, this is just one fantastic vehicle. Now, looking underneath the floor here, Subaru gives you a little bit more storage. If you pull open this, you can see here there's a temporary spare tire, so that's definitely a good thing to have. You don't have to deal with a fix-a-flat kit. Under the hood of the latest Forester, you're going to find a pretty traditional Subaru motor. This is the upgraded 2-liter turbocharged direct injection Boxer 4, part of the FA engine family that was introduced in the new WRX as well. Now, in this application, it makes a little bit less power than the WRX, 250 horsepower, which is still a lot, and 258 pound-feet of torque. Now, that definitely is not tops in the class. However, the Forester is definitely one of the lightest in the class. Now, this turbo engine only comes with a Lineartronic CVT. This particular application weighs around 3,600 pounds. It comes standard with Subaru's symmetrical all-wheel drive with torque vectoring on this particular trim level. Now, fuel economy is rated at 23 in the city, 27 on the highway. Premium gas is recommended. I highly recommend putting premium. This is the upgraded motor. It is fast. 0 to 60 times are like around 6 seconds for this car, and it'll tow about 1,500 pounds. Now, most of you probably don't get this motor, unfortunately. The base engine is a 2.5-liter flat 4, 170 horsepower, so a pretty significant 80 horsepower difference between the base motors. However, with the base motor, you'll get better gas mileage, like 26, 32. But let's get it on the road and see how it all works together, though, shall we? So I showed you guys a review of the previous 3rd-gen Forester. However, I have yet to show you guys a review of this all-new one. I'm super excited that Subaru sent me over this top-of-the-line touring model with the turbo engine. This is basically the same motor that I didn't really love in the WRX. However, in this SUV, let's see if it makes this a much better vehicle, shall we? Holy crap! Whoa! I was not expecting this to be that fast. Now, if you guys remember my review on the 2016 WRX with the automatic and EyeSight, I wasn't really in love with it. However, in a crossover SUV like this, when you floor it, there's some initial lag, but holy crap. Once it takes off, this thing is fast. Holy moly. And for a CVT, I really don't like CVTs. But Subaru's tuned their Lineartronic to actually mimic shifts. It'll give you 8 fake ratios. And if you want it, you can use the paddles. I have it in Sport Sharp mode, and my God. Once the CVT gets over that initial lag, I don't know if it's turbo lag or if it's the CVT lagging, the rush of torque is just so immediate. This thing gets to 60 easily in 6 seconds. It'll smoke every other compact SUV on the market, whether it has even of the V6 models or the turbo 2-liter EcoBoost Escape. This thing is just seriously fast. Holy crap, I would seriously not get tired of just hitting that accelerator every time I see an open stretch of road. This thing is just impressively quick. Now, let's put the transmission into its normal sport setting, kind of to try to quiet down. Actually, I'll put it into intelligence. And the Subaru Forester actually, I have to say, it handles very much like a taller WRX. The steering is obviously electric. It is definitely a little bit numb. However, it's quick enough. I just wish it had more road feel. The suspension, you can feel it's on the firmer side, especially with the bigger 18-inch wheels, but it still rides really well. Subaru actually added more sound deadening material this year to quiet down the interior, and it definitely shows. I had this thing out on the highway, and it's a relatively quiet car, which is definitely not something you could say about the WRX or Subarus in general. This thing is, a really good daily driver. The visibility in here is also exceptionally well. Big side mirrors, nice low hood, plenty of glass around here, so you can see very well. And the Forester feels a little bit smaller. Now, not smaller in terms of interior space, just smaller in terms of size. This isn't as wide or as long as other vehicles in the class. And it shows. The handling is really well, the acceleration is quick, the steering is quick enough, just a little bit on the numb side, but really, you know, I think for an enthusiast, this is the SUV to get if you have to have a vehicle in this boring compact segment. Now, because my Tester has the EyeSight technology, it has a full suite of driver assistance tech, basically the same as I showed you in the WRX. It has active lane keeping assist, it has forward emergency braking, it has automatic cruise control with full speed range. However, it doesn't actually hold the brake when you come to that full stop. It'll hold it for like a couple seconds and then it'll shut itself off and then you have to hold it, which is a little bit annoying, but again, something to a little to nitpick. Now that was a full throttle run in the intelligent mode, which is still plenty fast. So this car always defaults to intelligent. Honestly, it's a brutally quick SUV that'll surely put a smile on your face whenever you get it going. I mean, are there any negatives about this thing? Sure, as I mentioned earlier throughout the video, it's missing some tech features I would like it to have. The CVT can still be a little bit laggy off the line, and it has that CVT feel. You hear a little bit of the boost blow-off valve from this engine, which could probably be a little bit odd for some people who have never driven a turbocharged engine. I love it. I literally think it adds to the whole excitement of this WRX feel. But I mean, overall, the seats are comfortable. It's got a roomy interior, lots of cargo space, good back seat. I have to say, I'm impressed with the new WRX. This would be one of my top picks as an enthusiast if I had to get a compact SUV like this. Now, that being said, let's talk about a couple of numbers here. You would expect with this turbo engine, it's probably going to be using more gas than the base engine, which it is. I've been averaging about 21.6 miles per gallon, which honestly isn't bad. It is lower than the EPA's estimate of 23, 27. On the highway, I pushed it up to about 25. So it does use more gas versus the standard 2.5 liter engine, which I think is worth every penny. I would easily pay more money for this motor and pay the fuel costs just because it's so much better performance. In terms of 0 to 60, this is easily 3 seconds quicker than the base motor, which can definitely feel a little bit lethargic. Now let's talk a little bit about the price, because this compact segment is fiercely competitive. And the Forester surprisingly has carved a nice little niche for itself, because this is one of the least expensive new compact SUVs on the market. It starts at $22,500, which is literally $1,000 to $1,500 cheaper than all of its competitors' starting prices. Now, why is that, do you ask? That is because the Forester still offers a manual. That manual makes it one of the cheapest offerings in the segment. I would love to get this car with a stick with the turbo, basically a WRX, but they don't offer it with the turbo and stick, only the base motor, which I've never driven. I imagine it's relatively good. It's a good, excellent commuter car that won't get you in trouble. This probably, you might get a couple of speeding tickets in it if you aren't really aware of how fast it is. Now, my Tester being the top of the line 2-liter XT turbo touring model is significantly more expensive. Now, first of all, most of you are probably going to get the premium trim. The premium trim is about $3,000 more, so about $25,500, which is reasonable. Most of you may get the EyeSight in the power rear liftgate. Among those other things, it's going to be around $27,000, $28,000. Now, all-wheel drive is standard on the Forester. That's something you don't need to pay extra for, at least. But if you want to go for the turbo motor, you have to go for at least the XT Premium, which is a $3,000 extra versus the base model. You're basically going to be spending at least $30,000 if you want the turbo engine, which is definitely steep. My Tester being the Touring, top of the line, it starts at $36,000. Mine stickers for around $36,700. Which is an eye-watering amount of money. I mean, you're looking at, you know, $2,000 or $3,000 more expensive than a fully loaded CR-V, CX-5, or RAV4. I will argue that this has more power than all of them. This really compares heavily with the Escape 2-liter EcoBoost, which can easily, you know, touch the $36,000, $37,000 range. Is it worth it? If it was my money and I could afford it, yes, I would probably take this motor in the fully loaded model because it gives you all the niceties in it. The EyeSight option that my Tester has for like $1,500 basically makes it most expensive. You can get a touring model without EyeSight for like $34,000 if you guys choose you don't need the driver assistance stuff. Honestly, I would probably just take it. It's a very good system, not terribly too expensive in its cost, but overall, I'm very impressed with the 2017 Subaru Forester XT Touring. If you're in the market for a compact SUV and you want something fun, you want something fast but practical, this is definitely one of my top picks in the segment. But anyways, I hope you guys have enjoyed my full overview. If you're looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, make sure you follow me on Instagram at Redline_reviews, like us on Facebook, and if you haven't done so, please subscribe to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I'll catch you all in the next video.